Hey guys, welcome to Camelot Fabrics. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make this adorable needle book. It's a hexagon trifold needle book from Needle Boxes Plus. I've picked this pattern to show you because it is a great way to use the cloud-filled fleece with the fusible on one side and a FuseWeb to attach all of the pieces to the cardstock that we're going to use to make the trifold book. The pattern itself calls for fabric glue, and I wanted to show you how quick and easy it is to actually use FuseWeb to apply fabric to cardboard or cardstock versus using glue, a fabric glue that you have to wait for it to dry. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get this made. I've already pre-cut most of the pieces that we need. So we had that came with the pattern, the cardstock pieces, and then the directions ask you to cut padding, which I am using cloud-filled fleece with fused dots on one side. You need to cut 3 pieces for the outer and 3 pieces for the inner, and then on this piece here they said to also cut out that diamond shape. This is going to be where your little scissor pocket is. So I've done those, and then they said to cut out 3 outer pieces of fabric and 3 inner pieces of fabric a ½ inch bigger than the actual shape. So this one I've already done. This is going to be our lining, and I wanted to show you quickly how I prepped and cut the outer pieces as well. And so what I did is, this is just a 10-inch square of the fabric, and I traced the shapes onto the fabric that I've already applied the fusible fleece onto. I've already done this. I did this so you could see that. And then I traced these, making sure I left at least a ½ inch on this outer point and 1 inch on the inside. And then what I do is I just take a ruler and I trim this up using the ruler at the ½ inch mark to get my seam allowance. So I didn't have to try to like guess or draw it with a ruler. I'm going to cut it as I go. And so that's how you cut out your pieces with the fusible web all over the back of it. So let me get those trimmed up. Alright, so now we have all our outer pieces cut, our inner pieces cut. The other thing it called for is 2 pieces of ribbon cut 8 inches. So I've gone ahead and done that with this little polka dot ribbon. So next, the directions say you need to put the padding and glue it to your cardstock pieces. I'm going to go ahead and iron this down because this is cloud-filled fleece and it has fused dots on the back of it. So these 2 pieces are done. I'm going to do this third one just to show you how I do it, and then I'll finish doing the rest off camera. The fleece is thicker, so you do want to, it takes a little bit longer for the heat to penetrate through the batting into the fused dots so that they'll stick to the cardstock. And you'll see I'm only doing half at a time because I don't want it to accidentally get stuck to the bottom of my iron. I know, because I just did that. Just pressure and heat. And it doesn't have to be like ironclad on there, but that's pretty good. So now these are ready. I don't have to wait for glue to dry, so I'm going to go ahead and iron these onto these pieces, and then we will be right back to assemble. Next step, now that we have the cloud-filled fleece on the cardstock, is to cover each of the pieces with the fabric. We've already prepped the fabric with FuseWeb and it's ready to go. So we're just going to take the paper off of the fabric that has the FuseWeb on it. We're going to lay that down, and then we're going to take one of the pieces with the cloud-filled fleece and we're going to put it on the larger piece of fabric, and we'll roll over each edge and press it in place. And we're going to do every other edge. So this side, we'll skip that one, we'll do this one. I don't think it really matters, but I think this might give us a cleaner fold, so that's why I'm doing it this way. And you can see I'm not using a lot of heat right in the beginning. I'm just trying to get it tacked in place. And this is so much faster and easier than trying to use fabric glue and wait for it to dry, which is why this is one of my preferred methods of adding fabric to cardstock. And the FuseWeb is perfect for that. It's the right density, and it works nicely to do this, and you saw how quickly it stuck down for me. So we're going to do the third one of those, and then we're going to also do all of the inner pieces. Now the piece with the cut, we do not need to cut it out of the fabric. That's just a little opening that when we put our scissors in, it has a little pocket to tuck in. So let me get these finished Let me finish pressing these down and then we'll be ready to do the next step. All right, so we have all our pieces pressed. We got the outers and we got the inners. And then the next step is we're gonna create the needle holders. Those are these little strips on either side that you can either slide a pack of needles in or use it to actually hold your needles. Nah, I got it backwards. Nope, that's right. Just like that. So they can go in there, and then you could actually take a whole pack of needles and you could slide those in there if you wanted to. But to make those bands, they ask you to glue them, and we're not going to glue them. We are going to use FuseWeb. All right, so to make those bands, I am going to put an applique pressing sheet down. This is a Teflon sheet that will protect my ironing surface from FuseWeb so I don't get glue on it. But I've got those two pieces, and then I've gone ahead and I've cut little 3/8 inch strips, and I'm going to iron them at the top of the tab. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other one. This is where they say to just add a fabric glue. And so instead of fabric glue, we're using FuseWeb. And I do like how it will take the higher heat on my iron. I just want to make sure it's nice and stuck. Now, we're going to peel this off. And now we have an adhesive top edge to my fabric. And it says to fold this in thirds. So we're going to go up to the FuseWeb, but not, actually that's not even a third. That's more like a third. So we're going to go up to the FuseWeb, but not over it yet. And then we're going to fold this down over the other side. And this is the edge with the FuseWeb. So that, there we go. Piece of cake. When you use the FuseWeb instead of fabric glue, you don't have to wait for it to dry. So there's that one. We're going to just repeat for the other one. And again, a third of the way up. And then roll it over. And there we go. We have our nice little two ties. So we've got those. Then the next step is the, I believe, the scissor pocket, which is this guy right here. And I went ahead and cut a piece of FuseWeb that is 4.5 by 3 inches because they want you to glue this half to this half. So instead of gluing, again, we're going to use the web. I'm going to iron that down nice and make sure it sticks. And then we're going to peel that off once it cools. You want to always let it cool before you peel it off. Otherwise, it doesn't always like to come off any FuseWeb, and any of them, because they're still hot. But there we go. See, that comes right off. Nice and easy. Let's get rid of all that. And then we're going to fold this up just like it says. And I'm going to iron it. Now, they had you do a double layer of fabric here because this is the scissor pocket. And they want to make sure that the scissors point doesn't pop through the bottom. So now that we've done that, the next step is to find the inner piece with the hole. That's this piece right here. And I'm going to put that on here about halfway up. And I'm going to... I want it to be halfway up. I don't want to go too high up. And then I'm just going to take a pen and mark it. This is an iron out pen, so I'm not worried about it bleeding through or anything. And then I'm going to take my scissors. That didn't really mark it, did it? Hang on a second. This is an iron out pen. Okay, so now that we have this, we're going to find the piece that has the opening in the back, and we're going to lay this on top of here. This is the folded edge. We're going to lay this on top of there. The scissors, you want the opening towards the top for the top of your scissors. And we're going to go ahead and just mark it. All right, now we're going to take some scissors and we're going to cut 1/2 inch away from that line, because this is now going to get wrapped around this like that. So I'm also now going to put fusible strips, just like I did for the ties right along the edges. And again, I'll need my applique pressing sheet for that. So we're going to iron those down on all 4 sides. So I'm going to put the first 2 down. Okay. And then we're going to do the side edge. And I think by using FuseWeb instead of fabric glue, it gives me a much tighter fit. It feels like it's more secure. We are going to glue the very last step, so I'm not worried about it being a temporary adhesive because it's all going to get tucked inside. And I also just want to get rid of that mark on there. All right, so now we're just going to peel these off. There we go. So now we have FuseWeb on all those edges. We're going to again position. This is the fuse side up. This is the wrong side up on here. Lining it, and then we're just going to press this over and iron it down. And same thing here. Now I have to say, of all the stabilizers in the stable, so to speak, FuseWeb is the one I use the most. I use it for quilting. I use it for things like this. We're going to be showing you in a couple of blog posts other ways to use it, such as making your own fabric, and how to create patches to do visible mending, which is a nice, cool way to add some fun fabrics to clothes that are either damaged, or even if they're not damaged, you can just add patches of fabric to your clothes. So make sure you look for those blogs as well. So now that we've got that all ironed down, there's our little scissor pocket. So the last part is to do the hinges. We're going to do that the same way we did the needle bars. We're going to just put a piece of fusible at the top. Okay. And then we're going to do the exact same thing. We'll do a third and a third. Pull this off. Now these become the hinges. And there's only one piece here, so what we have to do is we're going to measure in 2 inches, and I'm just going to do this quickly with scissors, but you could do it with a ruler and a rotary cutter as well. So there's one hinge and there's the other hinge. Now we're ready to actually break out the fabric glue, but you saw how quick and easy that was to iron all these pieces down using the FuseWeb product to get us to this point where now we can glue it together with our tacky glue. I wouldn't fuse the whole thing together because you do need something that's permanent, and FuseWeb is a temporary adhesive, but it is enough to get us to this point. So step 1 is to put the needle bars on to these inner pieces. So you just find the center, and I need Wonder Clips. Lots and lots of Wonder Clips. The pattern calls for clamps. These work just as well. So we're gonna put a little bit of glue on each side, and then I'm just gonna glue it in place and Wonder Clip it. Same thing here, just pull it around, glue it, put a clip on. There's bar 1, clip it. Let those set up and dry. while we do the next part, which is the outer part of the book. So you've got the 3 parts, and the ribbon gets glued on this piece. Let me actually, hang on. So we're going to lay these pieces out, and the ribbon is going to get glued on this side. And then we're going to glue on this one, not this one. So we're not doing it on the 3rd, we're doing it on the 2nd. Okay. And then I'm just going to lay this on top so we know that's the 2nd. Okay. Now we have to do the hinges. So you've got the wider hinge, and these should be about a 1/2 inch apart, and these should be about 3/8 of an inch apart. And the hinge is going to get glued right in there. Okay, we're just going to push it down. This glue does not take long to dry, to set up. It takes longer to dry, but okay, so we have our ribbons, our hinges, everything's lined up. This is the time to make sure if it's not, to fix it. There we go. Then this guy is going to go in the middle, your scissor pocket. And then each of these are going to go out here. And we're going to glue everything down. So we're going to let those set up a little longer while I glue this one in place. So again, we're just, okay, and we're just going to glue you down. Okay, so now we're going to glue these 2 on as well. You see how quickly that sort of set up for me. And you always want to put the glue on the inner pieces because they're smaller, not on the outer. And you want to put it on the, in this one there's 2 solid flat pieces, so you can put it in the middle as well. And we're just going to glue that puppy down and clip. And we're just going to repeat that for the last one, and we will let it set up and dry, and then we will come back when it's all set up. It is all set up. I've got all the sides glued on and clipped. We're going to let it dry, and I'll come back when it's ready to be finished. All right, so we have got this all set up. Let's just unclip it. It should be nice and dry now. And we will have our finished hexagon trifold needle book ready to go. No sewing needed, and we did the majority of it with FuseWeb and cloud-filled fleece. I absolutely love all of these interfacing and stabilizers that have the fuse dots on them, because it does make using all the products so much nicer and easier to be able to iron them down. So there we go. There is our lovely little needle book ready to tie up. So if you have little scissors, you can stick them in there. You can stick your needle books in here like that. You can put the actual needles into the bars like this. And this back part is all padded as well, so if you need to stick needles in there, you could. And then you just close it all up and tie it closed and throw it in your bag, and you've got all of your little stuff ready to go. Now, I like to do a lot of different handcrafts, embroidery, cross stitch, sewing. So this is a neat little thing. I can have different needles on different sides and have my scissors and just throw that in my bag. And this is the one I made earlier. There you go. I hope you've enjoyed us making the hexagon trifold needle book from Needle Boxes Plus. This was kit KT0032. I purchased this because I thought it would be a great way to show you how to use FuseWeb for something other than just applique. It's a very, very versatile product. It is basically a glue sheet that you activate with your iron. So anything that can be ironed, you can use FuseWeb instead of another adhesive. And you saw how quick and easy and mess-free this was to make this no-sew project. So make sure you leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think of FuseWeb and using it on cardstock, and let me know what you think of the Hexagon Trifold Needle Book. And I want to thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.